Ashugalan Taurus, medicine here. And I just want to say thank you very much for joining us for this card reading. It's for the lunar month. So it's for the lunar cycle happening between April 5th and May 4th, 2019, this year. Um, and kind of the whole idea is just to really see what this lunar cycle has in store for you, what is going to get brought up, how this energy is going to work with you, with what's going on, things that you might need to reflect on, that you might need to introspect about, healings that may happen that might come up with this lunar cycle, for you to just kind of think about as you're going through. So this is kind of stuff that's happening inside of you, but it's also could be things that are reflecting outside of you too. So I just want you to keep an open mind and keep an open heart to what's going on with this card energy, Taurus. Okay. Now let's see what the cards have in store for you here and now. All right. So we have the Seven of Pentacles in upright position. We have the Ace of Swords in reversed. We have the Judgment card. Ooh. We have Strength. We have the Eight of Swords as your center focus card. We have the Hierophant in reverse. We also have the Star. We have the Chariot. And we have the Seven of Cups. So already, Taurus, I want to let you know that this lunar month is going to be very spiritual for you. I don't know how you feel about that. I don't know how you're going to feel about that. But this lunar month is a very spiritual time for you. It's very introspective, very reflective. There are a lot of things going on in the universe for you at this time. There's a lot of things happening in the spiritual realms for you at this time. You've got a heavy influence of spiritual energy. I mean, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 major arcana cards here. So there's going to be a lot of drastic changes and chaos and dynamics happening around you right now. And it's all because there's divine intervention going on. Interestingly enough, the moon's energy begins in your 12th house. And the sun's energy at this time is also in your 12th house. So interestingly enough, astrologically, the stars also say that you're going to be enduring some major changes right now. You are completing an entire process right now. But anyway, to the cards. The Judgment card, number 1, is interesting to me because it barely shows up in any of my readings. And it's obvious to me that there's a lot of things. The Judgment card is asking you to be made whole once again. Ooh, I love this. The Judgment card is asking you to be made whole once again, Taurus. And what do I mean by that when I say that? Outside of time, outside of space, we are whole, we are complete, we are total. Outside of time and outside of space, we are whole, we are complete, we are total. We are fulfilled already outside of time and outside of space. there is no fulfillment. There is no need to be whole. There is no need to find completion because we are already complete and total, whole and fulfilled outside of time and outside of space. When we come into the physical world, however, there's a lot of our totality that becomes discarded and thrown away, laid to rest, things that we must die to in the physical world when we're trying to go after something. And the judgment card is saying now it is time for all of those things that you discarded about yourself, all of those things that you threw away for one reason or another, good or bad, doesn't matter. It's time for you to resurrect those things, to reconnect with them, to recombine with them, to be reborn whole and complete once again within yourself, so that you can be able to manifest, to step into the new world in front of you, whole and complete. Because when we come into the world, we begin as whole and complete. Whether we are a boy or a girl, man or woman, whatever, if we're black or we're white, the labels, if you will, don't really come until a lot later in life. I mean, think about what I'm saying. Whether you come into this world a boy or a girl, that does not, it doesn't mean anything to you personally. You don't come into this world saying, I'm a girl and girls are different from boys. In other words, you may feel it, but you don't come into this world as that. And someone has to tell you that you are a girl or you are a boy, and this is what it means to be a girl, and this is what it means to be a boy. But in the very beginning, you don't have any definition of the difference between the two. Now, Taurus, entertain me here for a second. I don't know if you believe in incarnation, reincarnation, or not. But I will say this. Our spirit is whole and complete, and it lives outside of gender, and it lives outside of race, and it lives outside of sexual orientation, and it lives outside of soul purpose. It is whole and complete. It is omnipresent. It is omniscient. It is all-knowing. Which means that at one point in time, in one lifetime or another, you were probably opposite the gender to what you are today. No matter what that is. So when we work with the judgment card, we're working with totalness and we're working with completion. I once knew someone who said that at one point in time in their life, and a lifetime ago, they were probably an Indian chief. There is a reason why certain things in your life, it's not on accident. There's a reason why certain things in your life appear to you, come to you, why you feel called to certain things in your life. And quite possibly it has a lot to do with past lives. In fact, it does have to do with past lives. But I mean that with all respect to you. I don't want to disrespect you if you do not believe in past lives. However, maybe a seed here may be planted, because it's all cycled and it's all coming together. So the Judgment card to me is not just speaking about things that were laid to rest in this lifetime, but it's speaking about coming whole and complete with your spirit. And I would like to say that there's a difference between the soul and the spirit, because the soul represents a fragment of your spirit. The soul is a fraction of your spirit. Your spirit is one thing, your soul is another. The two of them are the same, but one of them represents a greater source of energy, while the other one represents that which can be embodied here on this planet and on this earth. The Judgment card, first and foremost, that being said, asks you to reverse that process. So get whole with your soul, but get whole with your spirit. So you've got, so there's a need to do some soul work here for you, Taurus. Retrieving parts and pieces of your soul, soul work, soul retrieval. Retrieving parts and pieces of your soul that have been fragmented, that have been lost unto you, that have died, that have been broken through trauma, or things that you have discarded and put to rest. So there's a definitely need to do some soul work. And then there's also a need to do some spirit work here too with this card. Because there's a need for you to be whole and complete, not just in the physical sense, but in the spiritual sense. There's a need for you to be whole and complete. I just want to make that very clear for you. The Knight of Swords is your center focus card. I just want to take a second to focus on the Knight of Swords. And it's really pointing to being very passionate and very innovative about communication, like bringing in new waves, bringing in a new line of communication, like bringing in new forms of technology, bringing in new forms of language skills, ways to communicate with other people, ways to learn, new ways to learn. The Knight of Swords is on a campaign. It's fighting. It's an innovative energy, for some of you, bringing in new forms of thought, new ways of thinking, new ways of believing. The Knight of Swords could be bringing in new perspectives, new ways like to see the world, points of view, things that perhaps we have the generations before the Knight of Swords have not thought about before, that's trying to pioneer into the world now. So this core energy is you, Taurus. This core energy represents this youthfulness, this new pioneer, like this need to pioneer these new energies, as they have to do with the mind, as they have to do with freedom of thought, as they have to do with technology, as they have to do with communication, as they have to do with the nervous system, as they may have to do with the brain, as they may have to do with psychology, as they may have to do with learning. There is this call with this moon's energy for you to usher and pioneer this in some way, somehow. So some way, somehow, you're going to be in a learning process, and some way, somehow, you're going to also be ushering in new ways, new waves of communication and technology. My biggest fear for you, though, Taurus, is that you may lack guidance, you may lack know-how, and you may not be able to put it into practical, because I got the Hierophant here. And the Hierophant wants to show up to give you practical ways in which to manifest spirit into the physical form, into physical being. And I would be very afraid for you that there might be someone around you who might see your gift here and they may manipulate it. There might be someone in your life who may see your gift and they might use it for their own personal gain. So be careful about the people that you go to, that you share this information with. You may want to be careful about the type of mentor people that you share this information with too. I probably would be I'd be very careful about what I would say, because this Hierophant person is in reverse. I may not trust this person. The Chariot card is speaking up to me right now. And the Chariot card is talking with me about an inability to stay focused and an inability to stay devoted to the dream and to the aspiration and to the work. The Chariot card might be bringing up a lot of opposition and conflicts that are going on, that perhaps you being in the position as the Knight of Swords did not see coming, were not expecting. Perhaps you don't really have the wherewithal or the know-how to understand how to remain steadfast in the face of conflict. And I just want to point out with the Chariot energy here, it takes faith. It takes faith. It takes faith. It takes an open mind too. It takes faith. It takes an open mind to really outlast and endure the challenges and the conflicts, because there may be some very great ones happening around you, perhaps that you just weren't expecting. It wasn't something that that you were betting on when you made a vow to carry out this mission, to do this work. There might have been some challenges that come your way that it's like, here's my limit right here. And I just want to point out with the Chariot card that the point of all of this was for you to actually endure it and to grow stronger from it and to gain more stamina from it, better fortitude. This was actually all part of a learning experience to allow you to strengthen your faith even in the face of conflict. So there is a lack of faith here. I just want to make you aware of that even though you may be passionate about this new technology that you're bringing in, you may lack faith. I want you to be aware of that. And I want you to be aware of yourself that you may need to take some tests. Spirit is going to test you. And if you're not careful and you lack faith, when Spirit is bringing you those trials and those tests, you're not going to be able to make it. I want you to succeed. I really do, Taurus. And then the other side of that, though, is that failure is often the greatest teacher. So whether you succeed or whether you fail, it doesn't matter, because you're going to learn something from it, hopefully. Which is also indicated to me with the Seven of Cups. I might fail at this, but I might make better choices for myself in the long run from this failure. So all is not lost. Because in the long run, you may learn from your failure here, and you may make better choices from it as you reflect upon it. The Star card. It's interesting to me that the Star card and the Chariot are like sitting right next to each other. Why? Because for me, I resonate with the Chariot and the Star card as opposites. One is the number 7 and the other one is 17. So both of them have 7 energy to them. which talks about deep personal truths, deep personal discoveries that can only happen by going within. There may be some conflict going on here because of that too. There might be some conflict as far as grounding the energy in, because the star card's showing up right next to the chariot card, and for me, both of them, that how I interpret that is an opposition. The star and the chariot create opposition with one another, and the fact that they're right next to one another is very uncomfortable. So there's some discomfort. My guess is that you may have some troubles with grounding the energy in because it might be very uncomfortable for you. Because there's this one part of you, Taurus, that may be within your secrecy. You know, you may be receiving a lot of guidance and insight. Well, that much is definite. You are definitely receiving a lot of guidance and insight from the stars. And it's definitely going to bring you a sense of tranquility and a sense of peace. However, it also might make you distant and aloof at the same time, which for some of you might be the reason that you end up not being able to practice that energy and ground that energy into the physical. Because the star is not a physical energy, really, like the chariot. Chariot is a lot more practical and is a lot more physical and is a lot more about creation. But the star is a lot more about beyond the physical, beyond the mundane. So there's some opposition going on with that. And my guess is that this side of things may fail. You'll learn from them. It'll all be okay. But I think that with the star card as a strong force here, it's providing you, it's saying that there's a need for you to get out of the physical and the emotional, to detach from it, to distance yourself from it, and to really gain a higher perspective and allow yourself to be immersed and baptized in something that is all new. And that might be changing this energy here. It could be that this energy is like outdone, you know? And obviously there's no way for you to balance it. It could just be that like there's not a balance here. Because whenever I see opposition, I see conflict. And there's definite conflict. There's definitely a lack of balance, and there's definitely conflict going on. So one part of you, like in your spirit and your mind, is just focused on something that is beyond your physical world. And it's causing you to neglect whatever is going on in your physical and your emotional. The star card. There's no balance happening between the two. But once again, chances are you're going to end up making the right decision and making the right choices in the end. So it's okay. It's all good. I was staring at the strength card a second ago, and it became very apparent to me for some of you that you had found the strength to really bring, you found the strength and the motivation to really bring into consciousness and into being something like your ideas, like this was the driving force behind the swords, the Knight of Swords, like the strength card. This strength gave me the determination, the ambition to become a pioneer, the courage, the bravery here gave me the strength, if you will, to become a pioneer for for whatever's going on with the Knight of Swords. Once again, that new technology, that new way of understanding things. Now I'm being pointed towards the Seven of Pentacles. And the Seven of Pentacles for me is saying that your material, what it is that you're trying to create in the material world. You know what I love about the Seven of Pentacles is that it corresponds to the Chariot card. I love that. I love that. I love how I love how this corresponding thingy is happening here. Um. Oh wow. The Seven of Pentacles is saying that that the ultimate lesson for you to learn right now has to do with strengthening exercises. It has to do with bodybuilding, for example. It has to do with strengthening perhaps your mental strengthening, mental endurance. It may have to do with spiritual, endurance too, and spiritual strengthening as well, because you have all these spiritual cards here. You have all these divine cards here. So you're going through a lot of challenges. Like, we begin here with a lot of challenges that are happening for you, but they're meant to be in a way to help you build more patience, build more endurance, build more stamina, and to really remain steadfast and focused when it comes to nurturing and taking care of whatever physical manifestations you're trying to grow and bring into being with the Seven of Pentacles. And then it's like, okay, but some misinformed ideas ended up happening along the way. There is some misinformed information that ended up happening along the way with the Seven of Swords, with the Ace of Swords, excuse me. There was some misinformed information, some misinformed ideas that happened along the way for some of you. Or rather, there was something that was keeping you blocked from being able to open your mind to the new ideas, the new thoughts, the new beliefs that were coming in for you. But you feel them near and you feel them close, obviously, because you got the Knight of Swords that feels driven to be innovative with thought and communication. So it's obvious that there's something that you feel near and feel close, but the energy is being blocked. It's not connecting for you what that is right now. Overall, you are strongly in the spiritual. Overall, you're strongly in your spiritual. Strongly. And then I would say there's another part of you that is in the mundane still. But not so much, because the one physical energy we have here, as far as your minors go, is your pentacles. Your Seven of Pentacles is your one physical energy that you have here. You got the Hierophant. That's a physical energy too, don't get me wrong, but it's also very divine. And this person, once again, I wouldn't trust him. I would not, I would be very careful around this person, because they may be acting out of greed rather than acting out of a will to create. They might be acting out of a will to destroy. So I just want you to be very aware of that. But, as far as like your physical, mundane, like the minor is your mundane physical energy here. And I just have to say that you only got one, because the rest of it is mental and then emotional, as far as your minors go. Which means to me that you're not going to be physically present as much during this lunar month. That you are going to be in your mind, the mental, You're going to be in the spiritual, emotional, but you're not going to be as physically present this month, this lunar month, happening between April 5th and May 4th. So I just want to make you aware that this is all divinely ordered. This is all happening with divine purpose. So to not lose faith, and in fact, you need to strengthen your faith because that's part that's part of this exercise for you, Taurus. You need to strengthen your faith. Okay? Let's see what the oracle, the message from the oracle, has to say for you, Taurus. Taurus, 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 Taurus. Love matters. Love matters. Let's kind of explore this for a couple of minutes. Love matters. Because how it came to me was like matters of love rather than know that love does matter. Does that make sense? Like it's like matters of love versus knowing that love does matter. But then at the same time, love matters, as in it has matter, as in love forms into matter, like physical matter. Love, a spiritual energy. Love, which is spiritual. Matter, which is physical. Love forms into matter. Interesting. Interesting what you just get from just like listening to the words. Love matters. But then there's so much depth and insight in that. So love matters. I also get devotion because I got the dove. Dove speaks to me about purity and it speaks about devotion. And yet I also will say that this is a very physical energy at the same time because you've got the brown. You've got the brown going on here, which is very earthy. And you also have how love is created within the earthiness. Ooh, this is a beautiful card, especially for you, Taurus. I bet you're loving this. I'm loving it anyway. You may not love it. I'm loving it. I don't want to speak for you, but maybe you do because this really just has earthiness all over it. It's very earthy to me, and yet also very spiritual. So it's like this connection between the spiritual and the physical. I mean, because you got stars here in the background. If you look closer, this dove is bringing a message. Look closer at the image of the dove. I don't know if you can see it, but look at the world happening inside of the dove. The dove is bringing a message of light and love. It's bringing a message of joy. It's bringing a message of happiness, purity. It's bringing a message of paradise, heaven. It's bringing a message from heaven. It's bringing a heavenly message forward. There's also like this need to like inform, like, here is the dream. The dove is carrying a dream. This is what the dream looks like. This is the vision. The dove is carrying the vision and the world. And this is the dream that the dove is carrying to this nature spirit in order for her to materialize into being. Does that make sense? Like there's a vision of this physical world, but it's all just a vision. It's all in the dream. And it's like coming as an idea. It's like coming as something from a message from the stars. And the nature spirit here, she's receiving that. And you know, she's saying thank you. And then she'll go right to work on manifesting it into the physical world. So this is a very otherworldly being, right? It's mirroring, right? The dove is like a mirror. It's showing a mirror to the other side. It's showing this is what's behind, this is what's on the other side of the physical reality right now. This is what is being illuminated, being shown to the nature spirit. And this is what she's seeing within the spirit of that dove, you know. And then you've also got these other doves coming up too behind them, and they're also carrying, you know, other visions and other messages from spirit. I just get this very look. I look at the star card with this because the star card really points to higher messages from spirit. And now you got love matters. This card was made just for you, Taurus. I just have to say that because Taurus to me carries the energy of bringing spirit into matter. And that being said, the Hierophant here could be talking about a blockage, could be talking about being blocked from something. Something is keeping you from bringing spirit into matter at this time. The Hierophant could be also personally pointing towards you, not being able to receive the messages from the divine and bringing that and like taking practical measures to bring that into physical matter. Love matters. Love. Love. These are visions of love. Matters. Bringing them into matter. Isn't that cool? I like that. I like that. I like that. Let's see what the little booklet has to say about this card. Because, hey, you never know, there might be some extra insight in there for you. The way you handle things is important. There will always be many challenges and life lessons, as that is part of this experience. Choose to learn from your encounters. Get your heart ready to receive and allow for the various emotions you may be feeling. Get your heart ready to receive and allow for the various emotions you may be feeling. Get your heart in a place where it's ready to receive and allow yourself to experience the various emotions that you're feeling, in other words. I had to say that in a different way because I myself personally didn't understand it. So I just wanted to make sure that I clarified that for y'all who did not understand. Consider what makes you happy. It is time for you to allow yourself a day of enjoyment. Love who you are and be willing to give and receive love unconditionally. Ooh. Consider what makes you happy. Consider what makes you happy, Taurus. What makes you happy? It is time for you to allow yourself a day of enjoyment. Saying that as to say that you've been putting a lot of hard work into this process, that you've been working very hard, and it's time for you to consider what makes you blissful, what makes you joyful, what makes you happy. This makes me want to go back to the fact that the dark moon and the sun are in your 12th house, because the 12th house, believe it or not, is a house of bliss, and it's a house of rest, and it's a house of enjoyment, and it's a house of ecstasy. So it really brings you in touch with your dreams. Wow, dreams that really bring you, like, make you joyful and happy. Love who you are and be willing to give and receive love unconditionally. And the 12th house has a lot to do with unconditional love. And we were just talking about totality earlier. The 12th house, where the sun and the moon are right now, have a lot to do with totality. They have a lot to do with being omnipresent and being all-encompassing. And they have a lot to do with loving yourself whole, as whole. Wow. So this is very insightful to me. This is very eye-opening to me. It's very eye-opening to me. Because spirit loves you as whole. Spirit loves you as whole, but you might judge yourself based on belief systems of what's wrong and what's right. You might judge yourself. Wow, this is very deep to me on so many levels. Look, I wasn't even checking out the boat at the bottom, that little boat right there, and then you've got the sea happening. So you're going on a whole spiritual journey right now. You're transitioning. You're traveling spiritually right now. You're going on a spiritual travel. You need to get yourself, mind, body, and spirit back in touch with what brings you bliss, what brings you ecstasy, what brings you joy. Because spirit loves us unconditionally. You need to bring yourself back into allowing yourself to love you unconditionally. Be devoted to your spirit unconditionally, to who you are unconditionally. Wow, this is very deep to me. So that's the medicine for this lunar month. I hope this some way, somehow helps you, assists you to go through life during this month. I hope it brings you some great insight. And I hope it brings you something to really reflect on and contemplate and think about as you go through this process. I love you very much, Taurus. I hope to see you next time for the next lunar month reading. I got Lenore.